Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Depends where you are domiciled in these words. I greet you from my location to your own location. And as I welcome you, please, I want you to welcome one another by liking and sharing the program. Also, if we are live on YouTube page, USB Research TV, we are live on TikTok, USB Research TV also. And this is for only from the age of, if you once you have Android phone, you can join us on program and listen to what we are doing. What we are doing here is quite different for some things you see on TikTok. We are here to do what? We are here to make sure that we propagate our message of our redeclaration of our lost country, the Christian country that we lost in 1967, which is a Biafran genocidal war, where Nigeria government committed a war crime against humanity. We are here this evening to propagate to the world that what is happening in Nigeria today, the killings of Biafrans in Enugu State, Nigeria government said that they are searching for ESN that does not exist. They are not searching for any ESN, but what they are doing is a way to massacre the indigenous people. Way to massacre the indigenous people. Way to Islamize our people is what they are doing. And those they are doing still Biafrans. That is why we said that the loss of this Christian nation that we lost in 1967 to 1970 has caused the Biafran people pains and sorrow. Until today, Nigeria government is still killing the indigenous people. They are still buying us every day. Nigeria government is taking away the indigenous people for them to hand it over the territory to the agenda of Osman Dan Fodio of Islamization. But we, as people of Biafra, is letting the entire world to understand that we have issued our official redeclaration of the Christian country that is going to protect all the Christians. That's Nigeria government with their agents, Nigeria government with their repentant Boko Haram that are buying the indigenous people, are being buying every blessed day. That is why we are calling to the world that after we have redeclared this Christian nation back, to protect the citizens that are these Christians, that's Nigeria government with their repeated Boko Haram that carries the agenda of Islamization, to recognize us and give us all, supported us with all we needed for us to achieve our nation. For us to do what? Achieve our nation fully. That is why we are calling the entire world to answer us quickly, because without the world answer us, when we decide to do it in our own way, we don't want the world to see us as the violent people, but we want the world to understand that now we have maintained a peaceful, and the Nigeria state is killing buying us every blessed day. That is why we are calling the entire world, all the Christian nation in all the countries that do exist in this world, to quickly recognize us, for us to save the life of the indigenous people that are being buying every blessed day by Nigeria terrorist state. What they are doing there in Enugu state is that they are burning the houses, which is the way of Islamization, chasing away the indigenous people and giving over the ancestral plan to Islamization. That is why we are calling the world to understand that recognizing this Christian nation is the only way to end the killings of the indigenous people that is going on today. We also calling the world to understand that their silence is why Britain and the Nigerian government join hands to massacre the indigenous people. And I urge you, if you are following me on TikTok, please want you to follow the page or subscribe on our TikTok page so you can get notification anytime we come live, so you can join us. We also want the world to know that the loss of this Christian country is why this ongoing genocide continuously every blessed day. And we want for the world to end this ongoing genocide is only by recognizing the United States of Biafra that was really declared on November the 29th, 2024, is the only solution how we are going to end the ongoing genocide and the insecurity that Nigeria is claiming. While the Nigerian government is the one that who created the insecurity by themselves. While the Nigerian government is the one who created this insecurity. Because they are the one who brought them in time of Bulgaria, when this case began more than what it is before, more than what it is today. That is why we are calling the entire world, we are calling the world powers to understand that it's only by recognizing US really declared is the only way we are going to end this impunity. That is the only way also that the world will have peace they are looking for. Remember that this agenda is to make Nigeria a safe haven, to attack all the Christian country, to attack Israel, to attack America. That is why they have said that Nigeria is their own nation. And the only way they are claiming their own nation is by buying the indigenous people. They have been buying a lot of things that is happening in Nigeria today, proving that this is not a nation. And we have never lived the entire world. We are going to be calling the entire world to understand that what we are passing through today is because of the silent and the illegal treatment that was being given to the Biafran people in the 1967 to 1970. And we are letting the world to know that we have been on a very long period of error in the movement. But today, we are back with legal way to achieve our own nation. That is why we are calling every citizen of United States of Biafra to understand quickly that the only way we can achieve our country is by having our own nation. And that lost nation, which I called the Christian nation, that we lost in 1967 to 1970, that Nigeria with British and Russia, Egypt committed a war crime by helping Nigeria to buy the children's over 10,000 children. And the mother that was being by the fathers is uncountable. So we also call it the word that we don't want what happened before to happen at this time again. We don't want what happened to us before to happen again. That is why we accepted the 21st century law of the only way to have a lost country back is by peace, is by transition to government in exile and issue a peaceful declaration. This is only way in this 21st century we can have Biafra as a nation, and we have agreed to do that. That is what we are doing at this stage. And we want the world to understand that now that we have got to the pattern of the remedial succession legal approach and government in exile approach and the diplomatic approach, is why we, the people of Biafra, remain resolute. And we said, it is our nation, it is our time. We are not going to, we're not going to retreat because of what? The legal we are on it right now is the only way that what gives every country in this world power to grant us official recognition. That is what we are seeking at this stage. So I want you, if you're Biafran, to know that you are on a right legal track, how to achieve Biafra as a full nation. How to do what? How to achieve Biafra as what? As a full nation. We have achieved it the same way that Namibia, Algeria, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Zambia, and many more countries in Africa, the way they achieved their own nation by issue a peaceful redeclaration of their lost country. And today, we as the people of the real indigenous people, the citizen of redeclared United States of Biafra in Helsinki, Finland, via our government in exile, is here to let the world know that we have met every criteria and every standard to be a nation. That is why we are calling them. And we also want them to understand that we have agreed with the terms and the conditions of the international law approach that a movement that attempts to restore a lost nation without establishing government in exile is legal error. It's supposed to be illegal, but I know I use the word legal error so you may understand it clearly. And I'm going to prove to you what it means when a government in exile have issued official declaration to be on the page of the international global community under the law of the remedial section of external, no longer internal matter of Nigeria. So based on that, I want you to join us as we go to play the audio that we have to use this night on our research document for you to see why all this noise of IPOB and whatever they are claiming is go nowhere. Because of what? It is illegal under the international law. It is a pure illegality. Why a declaration through a government in exile is the only legal approach. And the lack of this legal approach is why our people are being fired, are being killed every day, like those who claim that they are ESN that leads to the Enugu state today, that Peter Mba and the Tinubu has joined hands to arrest and chase away the citizens and burn down their houses to hand it over to Islamization with their repentant Boko Haram. Nigeria is another country who has put repentant Boko Haram into their military. And you look at what is happening today. On that, I want you to remember our headline of today's program. Our headline is purely A movement that attempts to restore a lost nation without establishing government in exile is a legal error. Imagine when you are making a legal error. Imagine when you are making what? Legal error. Now we're going to prove to you why protest, agitation, IPOB, Brigi, Masabo, all these people they're everywhere today. Why all of them are legal error? You will hear it today. But before that, those on the TikTok, I greet you all. I ask you to join us. As you join, please follow us to share the program. I also want those on the YouTube to remember that we are one people, we move together. Is this YouTube seniors our TikTok? Hashtag from Bishop Onaga. I am a citizen of United States of Biafra. Levels Ngozo Araboeze. Really clear 29th November 2024. Lati Finland. Hashtag Nigeria must go. Hashtag Biafra is my identity. Biafra is my nation. And the Chigozie Ahmad Chigozie said, greetings, Biafrans. He's greeting all of us. Thank you so much. And Bishop said, good evening from here. We move. Thank you so much. And also, Uchenna, my brother, he said here, hashtag, I am a citizen of the United States of Biafra. Hashtag, Nigeria must go out of Biafra because Biafra is now a nation. Really declared on November 20, 2024. Thank you so much, my brother. I greet you. Thank you so much. And here I have you. Yeah, letter came back. Thank yes, yeah, you later came back. Yes, I was trying to join with people on the S to the page to handle the program with them together today, but I don't know what happened to my mic is not connecting. So to me to that is why I left to come back to talk to my people that are here. It's very, very important. I'm back, my brother. Thank you for being here and watching us also. Amadi said, the complete mission. Hashtag, I am a citizen of the United States of Biafra. And they also said here, hashtag, Nigeria must go. Biafra is a nation. Please, as you join us, have you followed us on TikTok? If you are watching on TikTok, if you are on the YouTube, have you liked the program and share it to others to know that we are live and direct? So please endeavor to do that. Thank you very much as you do. So on that note, our headline that we focus on it today is from what I'm going to read out. A movement like IPOB, like MASOB, like BRIGI, like CRC attempt to restore a lost nation without establishing a government in exile is legal error. I hope you are following. Now, let us play the audio. Let us play the research with all the backup law about the government in exile. So listen as I play this audio. Because this is how we do our program here. We research, we come out, we play it. One minute. 1 minute, my people. Because it's right when we are doing something, let it has a witness. And that is why the Biafra we are looking for is no longer the Biafra of that year. People are thinking we are on a different dimension with the new dimension mandate, which is USB declared. Please, 1 minute. I want to put it on a bigger.
Independence commits critical legal error. 4. An entity must establish legal continuity and demonstrate a capacity for governance. Omitting these steps leaves the movement without a valid legal claim. 3 legal blunders killing the movement: failure to establish legal statehood. Fill down pointing triangle. Fill down pointing triangle. Fill down pointing triangle. Blunder number 1, blunder number 2, blunder number 3. No legal standing, no claim to remedial abandonment of peaceful Montevideo Convention. Secession, UN Charter. Settlement, UN Charter. Blunder number 1. Refusing to form a government in exile violates the capacity to act. The error: relying on informal leadership or protest committees instead of a formal legal organ like a government in exile, GIE.
Please follow us.
The legal consequence: without an organized governing structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity, persona standi, with which to interact. Protesters and activist movements cannot sign treaties, accredit ambassadors, or hold sovereign assets. Applicable treaty provision: Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, 1933. Article 1. The state as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications: A. A permanent population, B. A defined territory, C. Government, and D. Capacity to enter into relations with the other states. A movement without a government in exile fails criteria C and D. It cannot demonstrate an administrative body capable of external state relations. Blunder number 2. Failing to issue a peaceful redeclaration ignores territorial integrity. The error: demanding independence through public agitation without drafting a formal, peaceful legal instrument that outlines historical and constitutional continuity, de jure restoration. The legal consequence: international law prioritizes the territorial integrity of existing recognized states. Unilateral agitation without a structured, peaceful redeclaration fails to meet the strict legal standard required for self-determination. Applicable Charter and Judicial Precedents. Charter of the United Nations, 1945. Article 1, Paragraph 2. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Supreme Court of Canada, reference Re-secession of Quebec, 1998. Under customary international law, the right to external self-determination, secession, restoration, applies strictly under exceptional circumstances, e.g., formal decolonization, foreign military occupation, or complete denial of internal political rights. It operates within a framework that protects the territorial integrity of states, unless a clear, formal legal case for external self-determination is presented. Blunder number 3. Relying solely on agitation violates the duty of peaceful settlement. The error: relying on street agitation rather than engaging in formal legal, constitutional, and diplomatic processes. The legal consequence: under international law, parties claiming a dispute must use established peaceful mechanisms to resolve claims. Agitation alone allows the occupying power to legally categorize the movement as a domestic civil disturbance, rather than a legitimate state-building body. Applicable Charter provision. Charter of the United Nations, 1945. Article 33, Paragraph 1. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice. Summary of relevant international charters and conventions. Article/treaty. Core requirement: impact on a movement without a GIE or redeclaration. Montevideo Convention, Art 1, requires a government and the capacity to conduct foreign relations. Disqualified: activist groups lack foreign diplomatic capacity. UN Charter, Art 1, Para 2, establishes the right to self-determination of peoples. Restricted: must be balanced against territorial integrity via formal legal claims. UN Charter, Art 33, Para 1, mandates peaceful legal procedures and diplomatic negotiations. Violated: street agitation alone fails to utilize formal legal/diplomatic mechanisms. UN General Assembly Res. 2625, 1970. Declaration on Principles of International Law Concerning Friendly Relations. Blocked: protects state stability against entities lacking clear legal administrative governance.
What we are doing here is to let you understand our stand, that our country stand on international law, that this nation the Christian nation USB stand on international law. That we are not just here to make noise. We are not just here to act like organization, but rather, after our peaceful redeclaration, that we are here to act as to prove that we are a country with all the government structure, with all the government apparatus that surrender what we are doing. How every other country in the past has achieved their lost country, or those that issued in that declared their country new. That is why you are having a day of independence. That was the day that country redeclared or declaration or become a full nation on his own, have his own government, has his own territory, decide what to do and what not to do. That is why we are here to let you understand that Biafra we lost in 1967, that we have redeemed who we are. That is why we redeclare it on November 29, 2024 in Helsinki, Finland, under the international law of a government in exile. The issue is this: a movement that attempts to restore a lost state, a lost nation. The word or the language of the international community is state. Whenever they mention state, it simply means a country. Whenever you see the international community mention state, it simply means what? A country. A movement that attempts to restore a lost nation without establishing government in exile and without issue a peaceful redeclaration of independence, committing a critical legal error. IPOB organization, Masob, Brigi of Ogenkere, after Brigi, the real Brigi has redeclared the lost country, and the BGC and CRC, PUK, and all these groups that is attacking usually declared. These are all critical legal what error. Why? Look at the word I want to understand clearly. A movement that attempts to restore a nation without establishing a government in exile, GIE in bracket, and without issue peaceful declaration of independence, commits critical legal error. He said that the world knows that there is something they call government in exile. The world also understands there is what they call declaration. I want you, as you are watching me right now, type on your phone, what is the meaning of the declaration or redeclaration? What is the meaning of government in exile? And what is the work of government in exile? These are 4 questions I want you to go into type so you can find out exactly what you as redeclared is doing at this stage. I also want you to understand clearly that without this USD declared, that's all we are doing is making a critical legal error. Imagine when you are making a critical legal error in what you are doing. How do you feel? Under international law, an entity must establish a legal continuity by issue a peaceful declaration through a government in exile to send a full notification to the international global community that a new country has emerged from the day of the peaceful redeclaration. Are you following? I will play the audio again and the pause, and we'll analyze it together. So, Listen to this.
A movement that attempts to restore a lost state without establishing a government in exile, GIE, and without issuing a peaceful redeclaration of independence commits critical legal errors. Under international law, an entity must
Please
establish
follow
legal
our page for
continuity
more
and
to come.
demonstrate a capacity for governance.
Please follow
Omitting
our
these
page.
steps leaves the movement without a valid legal claim. 3 legal blunders killing the movement: failure to establish legal statehood. Fill down pointing triangle.
Remark the word legal blunder, killing the movement. What is this legal blunder? And remember the words critical legal error. From the word critical legal error, we are now adopt into what? Legal blunder, killing the movement. Now, on this pointing triangle, blunder 1, hashtag no legal standing Montevideo Convention. Montevideo Convention is a law that backs anyone who is fighting to restore a lost country or who wants a new one. That is what I said here. Builder. Hashtag no legal standing Montevideo Convention. Number 2, blunder. Hashtag no claim to remedial secession UN Charter. Whenever you claim remedial secession, the UN Charter must implement. That is why this UN Charter is being already implemented on the US declared after the November the 2024. So that is where you may understand it clearly. Now, the blunder again, because it is a 3 blunder. The second blunder, the third blunder is what? Abandonment of peaceful settlement on UN Charter. When you're going to be able to maintain the standard. Remember, leg 3, legal blunder, killing the movement of the people. Number 1, blunder 1, hashtag no legal standing for Montevideo Convention if you're coming by organization. Now, blunder 2, no claim to remedial secession. UN Charter, you see. Blunder 3, abandonment of the peaceful settlement to UN Charter. These are what's the blunder. When you are doing protests and agitation on the street without a government in exile, without a peaceful declaration, this is the only way the world can accept you. This is only how the world wants it to be. And today, we are on a right track under international law. Now, blunder 1, as we proceed. Refusing to a former government in exile, violating the capital to act. Refuse to accept the government in exile is a very big blunder. Refuse to form a government in exile. When you are listening to things that is happening on this time around, when you saw these IPOs that are making noise, they are under what? Stupidity and ignorance of law, how Biafra should be a nation. That is what our DPM, Simon Ebanjo, is fully structured and presented to you under the legal part of it, not under Tibu Obute.
Down pointing triangle. Fill down pointing triangle. Blunder number 1, blunder number 2, blunder number 3. No legal standing, no claim to remedial abandonment of peaceful Montevideo Convention. Secession, UN Charter. Settlement, UN Charter. Blunder number 1. Refusing to form a government in exile violates the capacity to act. The error, relying on informal leadership or protest committees instead of a formal legal organ like a government in exile, GIE.
Are you hearing it? Now, do you see where they're referring us to? The error lying on informal leadership or protest committee. That is where IPOB relies on. IPOB relies on protests. And there is no protest being submitted to the world to recognize as a country when you are seizing organization. There is not. So when you are listening with key interest to understand why only US being declared is the only solution in what we are doing at this stage, and only the legal part. Why this protest organization are what? Critical legal error. Imagine when someone is making a critical legal error, how you look like. What does it mean? So, the error lying on informal leadership or protest committee. When you look at IP, what they are doing, there is any committee, they know DOS, they know this and that, blah, 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 blah. The same thing. You have only one US already declared. You have Brig. You have IPOB. All these things is nothing. You see the error that they are making because of what? Listen. Legal organ like government in exile is legal. Legal organ. Government in exile is a pure legal. That is what the word is. Everything that we are doing at this time, after this 21st century of Muslim was being kidnapped and Simon, the Prime Minister, was arrested by Finland government, is for us to reach an agreement to understand it clearly. What do we need to understand? We need to understand this part. A movement that attempts to restore a lost nation without establishing government in exile and without issue a peaceful declaration of independence commits critical legal error. IPOB has been on a critical legal error for 14 years of protest agitation alone. That is not how every other nation achieved their own. And they said, when you are ignorance of history, it leads you to stupidity that will lead you to the end of it. Official AJ, I don't know where you have been from over all these years. Govt, I see you. Thank you so much. And the Ozi, my brother, what's happened? Where have you all been so all this time? So let's proceed. Legal blunder. Legal what? Blunder. Now, what is this legal blunder? You may ask. Refusing to a former government in exile violate the capital to act, the capacity to what? To act. Remember, refuse to form a government in exile violates capital to act. I hope you're listening. That the only legal organ way for you to have your country is what? By a government in exile. Honestly, I don't know what people are still wasting time, but let's continue.
The legal consequence. Without an organized governing structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity, persona standi, with which to interact. Protesters and activist movements cannot sign treaties, accredit ambassadors, or hold sovereign assets. Applicable treaty provisions.
Are you listening? Tina on TikTok, I see you. Thank you so much. Rita, I see you. Thank you. Emmanuel, I see you. Thank you for being here. Please follow us on our page. Follow us so you know what. Please follow. The legal consequences of using IPOB and all these organizations to claim that they are fighting for Biafra. They are not fighting for any Biafra. They are just making noise. Without an organized government structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity, personnel stand, with which to interact. Protest and activist movements cannot sign treaties against ambassadors or holding sovereign assets. Listen again.
Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States.
So, sorry, when you look at this article, the legal consequences without an organized government structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity persona stand with which to interact, protest, and activist movements, cannot sign treaties, accidentally ambassadors, or holding sovereign assets. Why is it important for you to see the danger? It's not about social media, it's not about marching on 1 million march and all this stress. It is about following the legal due process that is going to benefit everyone. There is a law, and that law we must follow, whether I like it or not. That is what our government is following at this stage. Applicable treaties position. Montevideo Convention has something to say. Listen.
1933. Article 1. The state as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications. A. A permanent population. B. A defined territory. C. Government. And D. Capacity to enter into relations with the other states. A movement without a government in exile fails criteria C and D. It cannot demonstrate an administrative body capable of external state relations. Blunder number 2. Failing to issue a peaceful...
No, let us only say before we go to blunder number 2 again. Now, applicable treaties that's very important. Now, what happened? Montevideo Convention on the right of duty of states, 1933, Article 1. The state as a person of international law to process the following qualification. 1. A permanent population. B. A defined territory. C. Government. And the other thing. Is very, very imperative that you understand it clearly, that some things, honestly, needs us attention. A movement without a government in exile fail criteria C and D. A movement without government in exile fails criteria C and D. It cannot demonstrate an administrative body capable of external states. Oh my God. When I finishing all this research, I now said, wow, so all these things has been here all these years that we on the protest on the street of Biafra land. Let's play it again.
Redeclaration ignores territorial integrity. The error. Demanding independence through public agitation without drafting a formal, peaceful legal instrument that outlines historical and constitutional continuity.
Yeah, sorry, 1 minute. We want to do something from here so you may understand it clearly. Now, a movement without government in exile fails criteria C and D. You hear how the world is reminding you about government in exile. But because of we are so dumb, we don't research, we don't read, we believe we see video, you copy, you download, you post. This is what our people are capable of being doing. That is why the world is laughing at us, because we have never been on the side of the legal part of it. We have never been on the side of the legal part of what we are doing. That is why it is very, very important at this stage that we are into, that we all understand the full criteria and stand on the ground for us to protect ourselves. What do you think after listening to this? Now, number 2. Failing to remember this word, blunder, #2, failing to issue a peaceful declaration. Are you following? Failing to issue a peaceful declaration, ignoring territorial integrity. Without issue a peaceful redeclaration, you are purposely ignoring what? That you are ignorance of what? Territorial integrity. When you redeclare, whether in exile, in the homeland, anywhere, that day you are proving what? That you are territorial integrity. It's not about what anybody think. The way to achieve Biafra, the law is where our DPM, as the law itself, is that is there, moving like a man. The high time to do the needful is very fast.
Jure restoration. The legal consequence. International law prioritizes the territorial integrity of existing recognized states. Unilateral agitation without a structured, peaceful redeclaration fails to meet the strict legal standard required for self-determination. Applicable charter and judicial.
Why is it important to us? Because this is what they are telling us. Remember the word of Oba before Oba Tobia was arrested, our Prime Minister Simon Ekpanjok was arrested. He said, Simon Ekpanjok talk about what? About that, without these documents, that all we are doing, including him, is noise making. But it's only through this government is how we have saved our life. I also ask those on TikTok to please, if you can follow us, you may do that. It is very important at this stage to understand that the only government you have, according to what you're hearing here, is only United States of Biafran government. Now, remember where we are. We are moving. The error, the what? The error. Blunder. Failing to issue a peaceful redeclaration ignoring territorial integrity. The error. The error, demanding independence through public agitation without defeating a formal peaceful legal instrument. They outline historical and constitutional country, the due recognition. You see how it comes? That is not by organization, but it is by the legal part of it. So let's proceed.
Precedents. Charter of the United Nations, 1945, Article 1, Paragraph 2. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Supreme Court of Canada, reference Resecession of Quebec, 1998.
Now, giving you an example where it has happened. I hope you're listening to that. Giving you example where what I'm saying this night has happened. It's not just starting. It's already been there. When we are looking at everything that we are doing at this time around, I want to know that anything that we have created awareness enough, the awareness of 14 years is enough. Others protest for 3 years, 2 years, 4 years. They went back to relax.
Under customary international law, the right to external self-determination, secession, restoration, applies strictly under exceptional circumstances, e.g., formal decolonization, foreign military occupation, or complete denial of internal political rights.
Are you hearing it? The same way Nigerians use the ability to occupy our territory is what they are telling you here. Blunder 3. Relying slowly on agitation, violating the duty of peace statement. When you rely on the duty of cleaning, the duty of this and that, it is a time for us to understand what the world is looking for, and let us give them. It is what it is because of what US really declared. Is the reason why we are here to talk about Biafra today. If there is no US really declared, nobody will talk about Biafra today. What do you think that we need to do at this stage? Is it not to queue in line and stay on the line of the international community? That very easy way that to achieve, even though it is hard. Everything that we are doing, we must do it on the legal path for us to use that to move on our life. What do you think that we should do? We should go and do protests? We should fall back on IPOB? Who does that? Who is that person that when they left you and come back about the same year, you remember where you are without any changing? What are the changes of IPOB? Nothing. Play again.
It operates within a framework that protects the territorial integrity of states, unless a clear, formal legal case for external self-determination is presented. Blunder number 3. Relying solely on agitation violates the duty of peaceful settlement. The error.
Relying solely on agitation. He says agitation is not the way to achieve a nation. Agitation is never a way to achieve a nation. And no country in this research on this world have used protests to achieve their country back. It's not possible.
Relying on street agitation rather than engaging in formal legal, constitutional, and diplomatic processes. The legal consequence. Under international law, parties claiming a dispute must use established peaceful mechanisms to resolve claims. Agitation alone allows the occupying power to legally categorize the movement as a domestic civil disturbance, rather than a legitimate state-built.
I hope you listen to this particular junction where we are right, this junction where we are right now. How that when you continue on protest, that you are encouraging the country that we are fighting to exist the more for them to do more. You are doing what? And there is no other way around, whether like it or not. Go and check history. You are saying our case is different, our case is peculiar, our history is not the same. Have you checked their history and see what they passed through before they become a nation where you are enjoying everything in your life? And the white people have been piled by the government through every blessed day. You refuse to understand that the only thing that changes the movement and brothers and legal rights is only government in exile that issue a peaceful redeclaration of a lost nation. Is on legal path. That is how revolution comes.
Body. Applicable Charter Provision. Charter of the United Nations, 1945. Article 33, Paragraph 1. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice.
Are you listening? Charter of the United Nations, 1945, Article 33, Paragraph 1 has something to say. The present to any dispute, the continuous of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of the international peace and security shall first of all seeking a solution by Nigeria government by negotiation. Seeking what? Recognition. You have to seek for recognition before you become a full nation. The world is watching us. Try to understand what we will do at this stage. Don't just think that the world is not watching.
Summary of relevant international charters and conventions. Article/treaty. Core requirement. Impact on a movement without a GIE or redeclaration. Montevideo Convention. Art 1. Requires a government and the capacity to conduct.
Now, can you see clearly that there is a law, there is a legal process, there is a template, there is a body guide that guides everything, including having Biafra as a nation. If you want to know what it takes to have Biafra as a nation, to understand if US is on legal path, I quote 4 law for you. Go and type on your phone, Montevideo Convention 1933, 1. Type on your phone, Geneva Convention. 2. Type on your phone, Vienna Convention. When you check all these, that simply means that whatever that we are telling you is the right thing to do.
Foreign relations. Disqualified. Activist groups lack foreign diplomatic capacity.
He had the word disqualified. Who and who did they disqualified? That is why when Mazen cannot take a document of Biafra into any country, when he left, they trash it. Because it's leader of organization. But he also told us that the time will come when we are going to form government in exile. And government in exile has formed. Where are you? The women in America has come to create the movement. Where are you? Honestly, at this point in time, if you, at this point in time triangle, if you do not understand it, listen carefully. I will play it now and play it again.
UN Charter,
Listen.
Art 1, Para 2, establishes the right to self-determination of peoples. Restricted, must be balanced against territorial integrity via formal legal claims. UN Charter, Art 33, Para 1, mandates peaceful legal procedures and diplomatic negotiations. Violated. Street agitation alone fails to utilize formal legal/diplomatic mechanisms. UN General Assembly Res. 2625, 1970. Declaration on Principles of International Law Concerning Friendly Relations.
Declaration on the Principle of International Law. Why illegal on the side of protest agitation organization?
Ability against entities lacking clear legal administrative governance.
I don't know whether I'm hearing it. I'm going to play it again, then pick the area I want to pick, then we continue what we're doing. I ask you, follow us on TikTok. If you are there, please follow our page so you will know when we are live and direct, so you can be able to join us.
A movement that attempts to restore a lost state without establishing a government in exile, GIE, and without issuing a peaceful redeclaration of independence commits critical legal errors. Under international law, an entity must establish legal continuity and demonstrate a capacity for governance. Omitting these steps leaves the movement without a valid legal claim. 3 legal blunders killing the movement: failure to establish legal statehood, fill down pointing triangle, fill down pointing triangle, fill down pointing triangle. Blunder number 1, blunder number 2, blunder number 3. No legal standing, no claim to remedial abandonment of peaceful Montevideo Convention. Secession. Settlement, UN Charter. Blunder number 1. Refusing to form a government in exile violates
the Capacity Act.
The error, relying on informal leadership or protest committees instead of a formal legal organ like a government in exile, GIE. The legal consequence: without an organized governing structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity, persona standi, with which to interact. Protesters and activist movements cannot sign treaties, accredit ambassadors, or hold sovereign assets.
I hope you had that place say that a protest group organization cannot sign treaty or relationship with other countries because it is an organization. Do not be deceived. Stop panicking. Please like and share. If you're on YouTube, if you're on TikTok, please follow us for more.
Applicable treaty provision. Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, 1933. Article 1. The state person of international law should possess the following qualifications: A. A permanent population, B. A defined territory, C. Government, and D. Capacity to enter into relations with the other states. A movement without a government in exile fails criteria C and D. It cannot demonstrate an administrative...
A movement without a government in exile structure fails. Are you hearing it? Continue your protest. Continue organization of IPOB. Okay, you will be shocked.
Body capable of external state relations. Blunder number 2. Failing to issue a peaceful redeclaration ignores territorial integrity. The error: demanding independence through public agitation without drafting a formal, peaceful legal instrument that outlines historical and constitutional continuity, de jure restoration. The legal consequence. International law prioritizes the territorial integrity of existing recognized states. Unilateral agitation without a structured, peaceful redeclaration fails to meet the strict legal standard required for self-determination.
Yes, Tenio.
Applicable Charter and Judicial Precedents. Charter of the United Nations, 1945, Article 1, Paragraph 2. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Supreme Court of Canada, reference Re-secession of Quebec, 1998. Under customary international law, the right to external self-determination, secession, restoration, applies strictly under exceptional circumstances,
Okay.
e.g., formal nation, foreign military occupation, or complete denial of internal politics. Operates within a framework that protects the territorial integrity of states, unless a clear, formal legal case for external self-determination is presented. Blunder number 3. Relying solely on agitation violates the duty of peaceful settlement. The error, relying on street agitation rather than engaging in formal legal, constitutional, and diplomatic processes. The legal consequence. Under international law, parties claiming a dispute must use established peaceful mechanisms to resolve claims. Agitation alone allows the occupying power to legally categorize the movement as a domestic civil disturbance, rather than a legitimate state-building body. Applicable Charter provision. Charter of the United Nations, 1945. Article 33, Paragraph 1. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation,
Are you
conciliation,
listening?
arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice. Summary of relevant international charters and conventions. Article/treaty, core requirement. Impact on a movement without a GIE or redeclaration. Montevideo Convention, Art 1, requires a government and the capacity to conduct foreign relations. Disqualified. Activist groups lack foreign diplomatic capacity. UN Charter, Art 1, Para 2. Establishes the right to self-determination of peoples. Restricted. Must be balanced against territorial integrity via formal legal claims. UN Charter, Art 33, Para 1, mandates peaceful legal procedures and diplomatic negotiations. Violated. Street agitation alone fails to utilize formal legal/diplomatic mechanisms. UN General Assembly Res. 2625, 1970.
I want you to have your attention on fail to form government in exile is what? It is illegal. It is a pure illegality. You see, when you're trying to look at this, Biafra that people have thinking that it's not possible. It is very possible, but in the way we think, the way we reason, that we are not reasoning on the legal part of the movement. That is why we have never achieved Biafra over all these years. Even if Chukwuemeka Ojukwu could have transitioned to government in exile, you see, all this that we are here today, passing through, see happening, we could have not been witness all these things. And because of after that, the war, we did not follow the due process. We can never follow the due process. Let me give one example. A country like Namibia, that got independence from South Africa. Namibia, you know very well, in Africa, got their own independence from South Africa. Namibia only protested for 3 years and 10 months. Check the history of 1960 to 1990. Go and check the history of 1960 and 1990. Namibia only protested for only 3 years and 10, call it 4 years. They stopped protests. But the protest under the name IPOB has lasted for 14 years without a full transition government in exile. They did not transition. They did not do anything good. What they normally do is to call people in the homeland, hey, go and protest. When they went out to protest, they will be arrested. People was arrested since over 15, from 2015. From 2015 to 2026, how many years? From 2015 to 2026, I'm asking how many years? People that was arrested People that was arrested in the protest, they still remain in prison till today. They've never been released. And more been arresting. The last protest in Abia State, people was arrested by the government, put in prison under the name of IPOB organization. That is what they call it. They call it what? Legal error. Self-determination under the legal error is, in fact, it never happened. You are just wasting your time. Imagine when you are doing something and what you are doing, those that you are calling to come and help you, you are calling Israel, we go to Washington, D.C., we go to this place, we check the United Nations, we go to ICJ, we go to Humanitarian International Court of Appeal and all these things. After all of them, they said, oh, you are on a legal error. And the question is, how could you control this legal error? They see they are the one who use their law to try to tell us that this is the way we are going to deal with, this is the way we are going to correct the legal error. Now, the legal error of Biafra was being corrected from the day Simon Ekpa Joko, the prime minister, introduced a legal right by what? By the transition of the name Government in Exile first. Under registered organization, Biafra Government in Exile, Brigi was registered by Simon in America. He registered as an organization, and when he registered it, he introduced a charter to us. Charter is the law that controls organization. That is why we was using charter when Simon Ekpa Joko is here with us. Then he told us that we are going to redeclare. That redeclaration is the second way we have corrected the legal error. Why protest remain legal error? Why agitation remains legal error? For we have been on this legal error for confirmed 14 years. IPOB was registered in 2012. Now transfer to 2026. How many years? Transfer this to 2026. How many of protests? And our people have been arrested. Our people have been massacred. Some have been, in fact, a lot of injustice because of the legal error from the organization of IPOB for a long time organization, a long time protest. This is not how Namibia, this is not how Algeria, this is not how Mandela under the NNC that fight against apartheid regime achieve their country. No! They went to the legal right, not legal error. They went to the legal continuation, not legal error.
Declaration on Principles of International Law concerning.
Declaration is the principle of what? International law, not protest, not agitation, not a structure of IPOB, of organization, but a real government in exile structure that issue a peaceful declaration. That is the principle, that is the criteria, that is the existing template, that is the existing law, that is the guideline how we can restore our lost country. George, do you want us to still remain on this legal error? That nobody will come to talk about Biafra. That nobody will recognize us because of what? We are on the path of the legal error. Do you want us to continue? Don't you understand when you are on legal error or you are doing something error way, or you are doing something you don't think it's right, that is what you have to do, that you have to do it on the right track, that is going to get it correct. Please, if you never followed our page on TikTok, please, we ask you to follow our page. You see, nothing good comes easy. Nothing good comes easy. Everything good must undergo a lot of process. Everything good, people must fight for it. And that thing that is good will come with many options and many things that is going to happen. The truth comes at last. The truth comes at last. What do I mean by that? Now, check the time of Owazurike till today. Check the time of Owazurike till today. Check the time of Martin County today. How many years? The truth comes at last. He who laughed last, laughed the best. He who remained on the legal path, rejoice at last. But those on the illegality always first rejoice. We do understand it clearly. But I want you to look at things the other way around. If you have been doing something for over a business for over 5 years, and that business is not bringing a good customers, and how much supposed to make in a day, are you going to continue doing the business, or you want to change or change location? Look at it this way again, that the Biafra we are looking for is not being holding by anybody. It's being holding by us because of we refuse to adhere through the international law. Said what? We refuse to adhere through the international law, constitution, and their guideline. And because of we are on this, that is legal error. That is why things might not be able to move in the way it's supposed to move. And I want you to sincerely understand it clearly that only this legal way is we have come to recognize ourselves. We proceed.
Friendly relations. Blocked. Protects state stability against entities lacking clear legal administrative governance.
When you are looking for administrative governance, and those that we continuously using this word, those that we are calling Netanyahu, Donald Trump, America recognize Biafra as a country. And when they look at you and where you are, they find out illegality. They said what? They find that IP, under international law, IPOB remain a legal error and illegality. It's not about, trying to eat your cake and have it back. And the painful part of this is that those that are being disturbing in this movement and creating all this awareness to us refuse to accept the reality. One of them said, I have agreed, but I am waiting for have my ID card. And I say, in due time, you will have it. Those who agreed have already agreed on what to do. That the only way for us to achieve this nation is via government in exile. That is the language of international community. It's not being bringing by anybody. This is the pure law. That is what it's all about. And also, those on YouTube, if you want to join us, that is the link to join us. If you want to join the program to comment, you can use the link to join. Honestly, the life and how to achieve Biafra, USB have achieved it already through our peaceful redeclaration document. Whatever we are doing, I want you to be seeing it that this is what we have to do. So, as Chukwu government have it, we all agreed with first our self-referendum vote that made it easy for us to achieve our own nation. So, if you are not looking towards this way, maybe you are making a mistake. If you are not looking towards this usually declared as the only legal right and the only hope how Biafra will become a nation, I am telling you that you are making a lot of mistake in your life and you are doing yourself more harm than good. Nobody is after you. What you sow is what you will reap. And it is very, very imperative at this stage that every Biafrans who genuinely know that what I want is Biafra as a nation must understand that the legal part is only the right to achieve Biafra as a nation. That every other thing that anyone else is doing is just you are making error. You are creating a legal error. And also, you are also creating awareness for the world to understand that a new nation, this old nation has redeclared as a new country at this 21st century. Based on that, like I said, I will play to you another audio that also I want you to pay attention on that. Anyone today that are still under IPOB is going to die under the ignorance of the law. Under what? Under ignorance of the law. And if anyone is being died under this ignorance of the law, remember this is an excuse. So many Biafrans has died fearlessly and they die for Sarah. So what is that you think that as this state that we are into, that is how to achieve Biafra as a nation? The question may be, do you really want Biafra as a country, or you see it as an opportunity to make money from giving people asylum? Because we want the truth. We want justice to dawn on the truth. We want you to look at everything that we have in here and sincerely to understand clearly what is going on. When we started this movement with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, after hearing his voice, he is the one who told us who to follow. So I am today telling you to understand clearly that what we are doing is the only reason why that everywhere is shaking. So my people, let we all forget that individual differences. If you want peace, you see this name, United States of Biafra, is the only legal right how we can achieve this Biafra. And if you want peace, embrace USB, accept your own country. Said what? Accept your own country. It's only when you have accepted your own country you have peace of mind. Many of you are running a scatter. Why that what you're running for is here with you. So do not panic. That nothing will happen today that such a thing has not happened before. It is very important. Like I said, I want to play you something again. Like I said, those who want to join us, you are free to join the program if you want to do so.
Here is a comprehensive script outline and teaching guide designed for a video, lecture, or broadcasting program. It presents the entire legal and political argument in a structured, accessible way. Here are thumbnail text and hook variations tailored to that headline, depending on your channel's specific focus and style. When an organization claims to be fighting to restore a lost country but relies exclusively on protests and street agitation for years, without forming a government in exile, GIE, or issuing a formal legal redeclaration, Their strategy can be systematically evaluated under political science and international law. In this context, ignorance refers to a structural failure to understand how the international legal system works.
Listen.
Stupidity, or strategic incompetence, refers to a failure of judgment, knowing or having access to the legal playbook, but repeatedly choosing ineffective methods that actively damage their own cause. 1. Criteria for ignorance. Lacking legal knowledge. An organization demonstrates ignorance when its leadership operates under fundamental misconceptions about how statehood, diplomacy, and international law function. Ignorance of statehood criteria. Montevideo Convention, Article 1.
Remember
International
that
law.
word. Refuse to understand the criteria, how international law works for you to restore a lost nation. And how? In the beginning, they told us here that the only way we can do that is by what? By government in exile. And the what? Peaceful declaration. And the IPOB is a government? No. This is a male political pressure group.
Law requires an entity to demonstrate 4 elements to be recognized as a state: a defined territory, a permanent population, an effective government, and the capacity to enter into relations with other states. A protest movement that refuses to set up a governing body, like a GIE, lacks the 4th criteria. Protesters cannot sign treaties, accredit diplomats, or receive foreign aid. Only an organized government body can. Confusing.
I hope you are listening. A protest group that refuses to form government in exile, issue declaration, or redeclare is a wasted effort.
Noise with sovereignty.
They are
Operating
making
under the naive
noise.
belief that street agitation, social media campaigns, or public protests will eventually force the United Nations or foreign powers to grant them a country. International law heavily favors the territorial integrity of existing states and rarely intervenes based on public agitation alone. Unawareness of legal continuity, de jure statehood. Failing to issue a peaceful, legally rigorous redeclaration means failing to establish legal continuity. To restore a lost country, an entity must present a clear legal paper trail explaining why the original annexation or dissolution was illegal and how the current movement represents its legal successor. Misunderstanding external self-determination, assuming that having historical grievances automatically entitles a group to secede. Under international law, e.g., reference resecession of Quebec, remedial secession is an extreme, highly restricted remedy that typically requires proving complete disenfranchisement, genocide, or systemic human rights violations that leave 0 internal political remedies open. 2. Criteria for stupidity, strategic malpractice. An organization's strategy crosses into stupidity when the leadership knows or ought to know the legal requirements of statehood, yet deliberately rejects them in favor of methods that guarantee failure, creating legal acquiescence. In international law, if a group claims a right to sovereignty but fails to take formal legal and administrative steps over a long period, such as 10 to 14 plus years, they demonstrate acquiescence, signaling to international bodies that they accept the status quo and function merely as a domestic pressure group rather than a state in waiting. Expecting recognition without structure. Expecting foreign states to grant diplomatic recognition while refusing to build the basic machinery of statehood, a shadow administration, diplomatic corps, or government in exile, is logically soundless. Foreign powers cannot extend legal recognition to an unstructured crowd or an agitation campaign, trapping followers in perpetual agitation. Protests are meant to be a short-term tactic to gain leverage for diplomatic negotiation.
You hear it here that protest is supposed to be what? A short time something. Like Algeria made it short time movement only for 3 years and 10 months, call it 4 years. Namibia, maximum 4 Algeria, maximum 4 years. Ethiopia did not even protest because it's a case of lost country. They just transitioned to government in exile, issue a redeclaration of their lost country.
Not a decade-long end state. Using
that
street
protest to have a lost country is not supposed to be a decade movement. If you check from IPOB and the Masop protest, it's getting to 28 years. 1 decade is 10 years. Now, from 28 years to now, it's going to 3 decades that other people used to issue declaration like Namibia. After 30 years, that is a 3 decade. and they have achieved their return back. And why we are on 3 years, on 3 decades, we have never issued declaration. And the only thing we do is we come out on the street, we do 1 million men march, we go inside. We was on the street, we make noise, we go. That is not how we work. What they're telling us. That is our ignorance of how to get a lost country. This is our stupidity of how to get a lost country. And that stupidity that leads to your ignorance is not an excuse when the law will handle you.
As the primary strategy for over a decade, exposes followers to state repression, arrests, and economic hardship without ever advancing the legal case for independence. Ignoring proven historical precedent, every modern movement that successfully restored an occupied or lost country, such as the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia,
Now,
Lithuania.
they give us an example where it happened. Everyone that have lost, that restore a lost state, they give example. If you want this example from the same African country, I'll bring it for you. They did what? They run away. Baltic state, Lithuania, all of them run away to exile. When they run into exile, what happened? Proving effective the capacity of government in exile, they issue the redeclaration of their country. That is how they redeem who we are, how they are. The same thing in our own case. King iPhone, thank you so much. I see you for coming.
Relied heavily on maintaining a legal government in exile, issuing clear constitutional declarations, and conducting formal diplomatic lobbying abroad during occupation. Ignoring this proven playbook while expecting different results fits the definition of strategic folly. Summary matrix. Metric. Indicators of ignorance. Indicators of stupidity/malpractice. Montevideo criteria. Doesn't know that statehood requires administrative structures for foreign relations. Knows statehood criteria, but expects recognition while refusing to build a government in exile. Strategy in time. Believes street protests alone will eventually trigger UN intervention. Uses protests as a permanent 10+ year substitute for actual state building and diplomacy. Legal framework. Unaware of how to draft a legal instrument of state continuity. Dismisses formal declarations and international legal processes as useless paperwork. Status under law. Viewed by foreign bodies as uninformed activists. Classified as an ineffective internal pressure group that has legally acquiesced.
You know, the game has changed. The game is no longer what it was before. That is why they are attacking you as declared. Anyone today who is attacking Mazen Nandekan is attacking this new nation. Anyone who is attacking Simon Eba is attacking this new nation called United States of Biafra, whether like it or not. So listen to this again. Please, for those who want to join us, you may have the mic.
Evaluating an organization that claims to fight for the restoration of a lost country through 14 years of agitation and street protests alone, without establishing a government in exile, GIE, or issuing a formal peaceful redeclaration of independence, presents a stark picture when examined under international law and political science. While international law treats ignorance as a procedural or legal deficit and stupidity as strategic or tactical irrationality, both failure modes severely undermine a movement's legitimacy under specific legal charters and legal precedents. 1. Identifying ignorance under international law. Ignorance in this context refers to...
Let them identify this ignorance under international law. Because what we are talking about, that we want Biafra as a nation, and you go to UN, you go to all this organization and some take their movement, what and based on what? Based on what are you doing those movements? Based on what? If not usually declared, then that thing is counterfeit.
The fundamental misunderstanding of the legal mechanisms governing statehood, sovereignty, and international relations. A. Misunderstanding statehood criteria, Montevideo Convention, Article 1. Under Article 1 of the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, 1933, an entity claiming statehood must possess 4 criteria. 1. A permanent population. 2. A defined territory. 3. A government. 4. The capacity to enter into relations with other states. An organization that relies purely on street agitation for 14 years without forming a government in exile or shadow government demonstrates ignorance of the fourth requirement. Protesters and street activists cannot enter into treaties, accredit diplomats, or sign bilateral agreements. Foreign sovereign states can only interact with a organized governing organ, not a crowd of agitators. B. Misinterpreting external self-determination. UN Charter, Article 1.2. The UN Charter, Article 1, Paragraph 2, guarantees the right of self-determination of peoples. However, under customary international law, reaffirmed by the Supreme Court of Canada in the landmark Reference Resecession of Quebec, 1998, the right to external self-determination, secession or restoration, is heavily restricted. It generally applies only in cases of severe colonial oppression, foreign occupation, or gross human rights violations where internal democratic participation is completely blocked. Operating on the belief that simply shouting in the streets for 14 years automatically triggers foreign intervention exhibits ignorance of the international community's overwhelming commitment to territorial integrity. C. Ignorance of legal continuity and reconstitutio. Restoring a lost country relies on proving legal continuity, demonstrating that the legal sovereign state never ceased to exist in right, de jure, even if occupied in fact, de facto. Without issuing a formal peaceful redeclaration grounded in international law, laying out the constitutional and historical continuity, the organization fails to create a paper trail for international courts like the International Court of Justice, ICJ. 2. Identifying stupidity, strategic malpractice, under international law. Stupidity in political strategy refers to knowing or having access to the legal requirements of international law, yet deliberately ignoring them in favor of methods that actively destroy the cause. A. Creating acquiescence and laches. Under international law, the doctrine of acquiescence occurs when a group claims a right but fails to take the necessary legal and administrative steps over a long period, signaling to the world that they accept the status quo. Relying exclusively on protests for 14 years without establishing a legal government organ or issuing a formal declaration of independence tells international bodies like the UN, the African Union, or the EU that the movement is merely an internal political pressure group, not a serious state in waiting. The failure to build administrative organs over 14 years converts the potential statehood movement into a static civil disturbance. B. The tactical absurdity of agitation without representation. Expecting foreign governments to grant legal recognition to a country while refusing to create a government in exile is logically soundless. A government in exile serves.
I want you to understand it clearly. Why am I doing this? Why I keep on preaching or let you to know the right where we are this time? Is because of all this noise and all this breeze that is blowing out there. Anyone who is talking about Biafra today and you are not standing on this legal path because it's US already declared, you enemy of the people. You want people to continue being paying. You want people to be in prison while you enjoy your life, and those people will be in prison.
As the official legal body that holds state funds, represents citizens abroad, and accepts foreign aid or diplomatic credentials, as seen with the Baltic states during Soviet occupation. Refusing to establish this structure for 14 years isolates the movement from international diplomacy.
Remark the word, refusing to establish a structure. What structure? A structure that is a government in exile that issue a peaceful redeclaration. That is what the world is telling us. That is what we have been lax over all these years. That is why Biafra has been delayed and people has passed away. But I thank God that finally we have come to the right sense of it.
C. Violating the legal duty of peaceful settlement. UN Charter, Article 33. Article 33 of the UN Charter mandates that parties to any dispute likely to endanger international peace must seek a solution through negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement. Choosing continuous street agitation and hostility while refusing to issue a peaceful, legally drafted redeclaration or engage in diplomatic legal processes works against the movement. It allows host governments to legally brand the group as an unruly insurgent or terror movement under domestic security laws, rather than a legitimate liberation group protected under international law. Summary matrix. Metric. Indicators of ignorance. Indicators of stupidity. Strategic malpractice. Montevideo
How
Convention.
IPOB is practicing stupidity. How Brigi practicing was stupid until now you are fighting to have Biafra. But it is a high time that we focus on what matters. That what matters at this stage is USR declared is what matters to you. If you don't have USR declared and USR documents, believe you me, you are doing yourself more harm than good.
Art 1. Not knowing that statehood requires a capacity for foreign relations. Knowing the law, but expecting foreign recognition without building a governing structure, GIE. UN Charter. Art 1 and 33. Believing protests automatically force the UN to create a country, relying on 14 years of agitation while refusing peaceful legal declarations and diplomatic negotiation.
IPOB
Legal
listing
continuity.
Masob,
Lacking awareness of how to draft an instrument of state continuity, ignoring 50-plus years of historical precedent, e.g., Baltic states, East Timor, showing how legal diplomacy works. Status under international law, classified as uninformed activists, classified as ineffective non-state agitators causing legal acquiescence.
You know why it's important for us to listen? This is how I came to know by myself that the only way for us to have Biafra as a nation is only through government in exile, US already declared. Is the only right way, the only legal way, the only backup way, everything, name it all. You think it's time that we are wasting our time anymore? Yeah, Bosch, I see you. Thank you so much. Nicolas Sabara, thank you. Odrukwe Frank, my brother, thank you so much. Nicolas Sabara, Madam Rose, I greet all of you. If you want to join the program, the link to the comment section, you can pick up the link to enter. Even if you have a question that is confusing you, come and answer this question. It is time to do what? To face reality. You might be ignoring us. You might be not flowing this page, but something will happen. Everything will be okay. Which is what? The only declare that we're waiting for. After that, the diplomatic process will continue. So let us share it. Let us understand why our Prime Minister Mazdan Kanu, our Prime Minister Simon Ebanjoko and Mazdan Kanu remain in prison. It's because of the only who released them is when we achieve recognition from different countries. Then it triggered the release. And he released as a president, like I always said, unless he said he doesn't want.
When an organization claims to be fighting to restore a lost country but relies exclusively on protests and street agitation for years, without forming a government in exile, GIE, or issuing a formal legal redeclaration, their strategy can be systematically evaluated under political science and international law. In this context, ignorance refers to a structural failure to understand how the international legal system works. Stupidity, or strategic incompetence, refers to a failure of judgment, knowing or having access to the legal playbook, but repeatedly choosing ineffective methods that actively damage their own cause. 1. Criteria for ignorance. Lacking legal knowledge. An organization demonstrates ignorance when its leadership operates under fundamental misconceptions about how statehood, diplomacy, and international law function. Ignorance of statehood criteria. Montevideo Convention, Article 1. International law requires an entity to demonstrate 4 elements to be recognized as a state: a defined territory, a permanent population, an effective government, and the capacity to enter into relations with other states. A protest movement that refuses to set up a governing body, like a GIE, lacks the 4th criteria. Protesters cannot sign treaties, accredit diplomats, or receive foreign aid. Only an organized government body can. Confusing noise with sovereignty. Operating under the naive belief that street agitation, social media campaigns, or public protests will eventually force the United Nations or foreign powers to grant them a country. International law heavily favors the territorial integrity of existing states and rarely intervenes based on public agitation alone. Unawareness of legal continuity, de jure statehood. Failing to issue a peaceful, legally rigorous redeclaration means failing to establish legal continuity. To restore a lost country, an entity must present a clear legal paper trail, explaining why the original annexation or dissolution was illegal, and how the current movement represents its legal successor. misunderstanding external self-determination, assuming that having historical grievances automatically entitles a group to secede. Under international law, e.g., reference resecession of Quebec, remedial secession is an extreme, highly restricted remedy that typically requires proving complete disenfranchisement, genocide, or systemic human rights violations that leave zero internal political remedies open. 2. Criteria for stupidity, strategic malpractice. An organization's strategy crosses into stupidity when the leadership knows or ought to know the legal requirements of statehood, yet deliberately rejects them in favor of methods that guarantee failure.
Remember, this is what they call stupidity. After you already declared a man powerless who is not fighting for Biafra, IPOB distance themselves from the redeclaration. Imagine when illegality is claiming that he is distance himself from the legality, from the legal. Imagine illegality IPOB. We distance ourselves from the declaration. We are not the same thing. You see how foolish people is. You see how foolish people can be. These are the things that at this stage that we are into, we have to look at it. Let me say this word to you as it comes to my mind. They said in life that one thing that is constant in life is what? Changing. You have to change. That is why today people are no longer using Nokia Touch. People are no longer using that old Motorola Hello Moto, that big, all those ones. People are no longer using CIS, many old phones, but people have transitioned into Android, and Android is about to face away because of iPhone, and all this big phone has come to take it, all this Android away. That is what is called transition. That is what is called trying to do another different thing that has never been done before. It's only in Biafra that we cannot change, we cannot do another different thing. Okay, fine. For 14 years, as an example, we have been trying under protest and nobody talk about us. Why can't we move to government in exile and try or hope use the declaration to work, to use it to achieve our country? Must it be a protest? Must it be 1 million men march? So far, this 1 million men march is not bringing any real results. After you have protested to Finland, so in Ireland since however how many months, what is the outcome of that your protest? Please, can you come and tell us? The link is there. Any country where you are today, you're carrying flag, protesting. What is the full outcome of it? What was the beginning of that protest? You see, this is time that Simon Eber has understand it, and our DPM has understand that. Oh, we have to do another different this time around. You can't be doing this and hoping another different result. Why IPOB is not getting the result of anything is that what they are doing, they said it here is illegal. Honestly, our people, if you understand where we are this time, if you're a Biafran and what you want is Biafra as a country, when you sing Gozo Rabeze, you greet another savior because he's the one who brought us where we are today, they like it or not.
Yeah. Creating legal acquiescence. In international law, if a group claims a right to sovereignty but fails to take formal legal and administrative steps over a long period, such as 10 to 14 plus years, they demonstrate acquiescence, signaling to international bodies that they accept the status quo and function merely as a domestic pressure group rather than a state in waiting. Expecting recognition without structure. Expecting foreign states to grant diplomatic recognition while refusing to build the basic machinery of statehood, a shadow administration, diplomatic corps, or government in exile, is logically soundless. Foreign powers cannot extend legal recognition to an unstructured crowd or an agitation campaign.
Are you hearing it? You think that Israel is talking about Biafra because of IPOB? Deceive yourself for nothing. Now, why are you deceiving yourself? Why can't you tell yourself the truth? Why can't you look at the truth and face the reality? On Friday, we are going to our open mic program. There's a lot of videos we will play so you understand what IPOB choose. Why our people cannot be able to just come on to reason? Okay, we have been doing this for all this time, from 1999 to the time of Manson and the can, before he was kidnapped. Nothing has come out of it. Those awareness is not enough for us to now say, okay, fine, the awareness has been created. Why can't we transform it in exile? Why can't we choose peaceful declaration? Why? And he started it, registered it, and today it has yielded results. Everything we are doing at this time around this stage, we must be very careful. Because of what? Had I know we come at last. And that's why I said, I am here to remove you from crying had I know. Because I don't want you to cry had I know. That is why I'm here, to let you to understand that you must stop that madness or you face the wrath of law. So everything that we are doing now that is legal, it is our inalienable rights. So when you look at it the other way around, I bring it in center, I ask myself, how could I be doing one business for 14 years and there is no gain, there is no profit that continue? No, now. I said, what? I said, no. It's a time that we're into. That is the pure time proving right now that we are right people starting from 29. Do not miss off that particular date. Do not. Because it is very sacrosanct that at this 21st century, that the people of Biafra has man up and understand that it's a legal law to back it up. Now, on that legal law is where we are going to stand. So, where are you standing? Are you standing on the illegality or on a legal part? I ask this question. And I want those on YouTube or TikTok to answer. Do you stand with what we are preaching this evening? Do you stand on the legal or illegality? It is very, very imperative that we all understand what we have to do, why we are here at this time, that Biafra has been overdue to become a nation. But because of we are not on the right track, we are not on the structure of a government, we are not doing things to prove that, oh, this is what we really, this is how it is. Rather, we are doing the opposite side of it, which is what they call illegality of the IPOB for a very long time, this movement. So do not panic. Remain where you are, remain focused.
Trapping followers in perpetual agitation. Protests are meant to be a short-term tactic to gain leverage for diplomatic negotiation, not a decade-long end state. Using street protests as the primary strategy for over a decade exposes followers to state repression, arrests, and economic hardship without ever advancing the legal case for independence. Ignoring proven historical precedent, every modern movement that successfully restored an occupied or lost country, such as the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, relied heavily on maintaining a legal government in exile, issuing clear constitutional declarations, and conducting formal diplomatic lobbying abroad during occupation. Ignoring this proven playbook while expecting different results fits the definition of strategic folly. Summary matrix. Metric. Indicators of ignorance. Indicators of stupidity/malpractice. Montevideo criteria. Doesn't know that statehood requires administrative structures for foreign relations. Knows statehood criteria, but expects recognition while refusing to build a government in exile. Strategy in time. Believes street protests alone will eventually trigger UN intervention. Uses protests as a permanent 10-plus year substitute for actual state building and diplomacy. Legal framework. Unaware of how to draft a legal instrument of state continuity. Dismisses formal declarations and international legal processes as useless paperwork. Status under law. Viewed by foreign bodies as uninformed activists. Classified as an ineffective internal pressure group that has legally acquiesced.
Classifying what? Internal legal group. He says what I told you, after you already declared, whatever anybody think he's doing today is just helping. If the person is enemy, who will know? That is why Focusing on this usually declare is the only option you have. And that is only what removes us from stupidity. What is that? US really declared is what removes us from stupidity.
A movement that attempts to restore a lost state without establishing a government in exile, GIE, and without issuing a peaceful redeclaration of independence commits critical legal errors. Under international law, an entity must establish legal continuity and demonstrate a capacity for governance. Omitting these steps leaves the movement without a valid legal claim. 3 legal blunders killing the movement: failure to establish legal
3
state.
legal blunders that is killing the movement of restoring Biafra as a country. Now let us see these 3 movements that have restored this movement.
Statehood. Fill down pointing triangle. Fill down pointing triangle. Fill down pointing triangle. Blunder number 1, blunder number 2, blunder number 3. No legal standing, no claim to remedial abandonment of peaceful Montevideo Convention. Secession, UN Charter. Settlement, UN Charter. Blunder number 1. Refusing to form a government in exile violates the capacity to act. The error: relying on informal leadership or protest committees instead of a formal legal organ like a government in exile, GIE. The legal consequence: without an organized governing structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity, persona standi, with which to interact. Protesters and activist movements cannot sign treaties, accredit ambassadors, or hold sovereign assets. Applicable treaty provision: Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, 1933. Article 1. The state as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications: A. A permanent population, B. A defined territory, C. Government, and D. Capacity to enter into relations with the other states. A movement without a government in exile fails criteria C and D. It cannot demonstrate an administrative body capable of external state relations. Blunder number 2. Failing to issue a peaceful redeclaration ignores territorial integrity. The error: demanding independence through public agitation without drafting a formal, peaceful legal instrument that outlines historical and constitutional continuity, de jure restoration. The legal consequence: international law prioritizes the territorial integrity of existing recognized states. Unilateral agitation without a structured, peaceful redeclaration fails to meet the strict legal standard required for self-determination. Applicable Charter and judicial precedents. Charter of the United Nations, 1945, Article 1, Paragraph 2. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Supreme Court of Canada, reference Re-secession of Quebec, 1998. Under
The reference word, Re-secession of Quebec, because of what? That the transition into government in exile, the issue declaration. Is people has got country. I ask you this question. Just type on your phone. How many countries in Africa that issue a peaceful declaration? How many issue declaration in exile? And they remain in exile until they achieve recognition before they come back. So you will understand the process, that everything must go through the process. Everything must undergo through process. That is where we are into the law. That is where we have templates. That is where we are into what we bring Biafra as a nation. Not what we think, how we feel. You see, all this agitation of protest or agitation of IPO, we have wasted many years and wasted many lives. Many people are in prison. Like, you want them to remain there. Because what we bring them out is only US really declares as an organization. Once the word adopted and has declared, so recognized us as a country, all this matter is over. That is how it goes. So, do not, my word is what? Do not panic.
International law, the right to external self-determination, secession, restoration, applies strictly under exceptional circumstances, e.g., formal decolonization, foreign military occupation, or complete denial of internal political rights. It operates within a framework that protects the territorial integrity of states, unless a clear, formal legal case for external self-determination is presented. Blunder number 3. Relying solely on agitation violates the duty of peaceful settlement. The error: relying on street agitation rather than engaging in formal legal, constitutional, and diplomatic processes. The legal consequence. Under international law, parties claiming a dispute must use established peaceful mechanisms to resolve claims. Agitation alone allows the occupying power to legally categorize the movement as a domestic civil disturbance, rather than a legitimate state-building body. Applicable Charter provision. Charter of the United Nations, 1945. Article 33, paragraph 1. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice. Summary of relevant international charters and conventions. Article/treaty. Core requirement. Impact on a movement without a GIE or redeclaration. Montevideo Convention. Art. 1. Requires a government and the capacity to conduct foreign relations. Disqualified. Activist groups lack foreign diplomatic capacity. UN Charter. Art. 1, Para 2. Establishes the right to self-determination of peoples. Restricted. Must be balanced against territorial integrity via formal legal claims. UN Charter. Art. 33, Para 1. Mandates peaceful legal procedures and diplomatic negotiations. Violated. Street agitation alone fails to utilize formal legal/diplomatic mechanisms. UN General Assembly Res. 2625, 1970. Declaration on Principles of International Law Concerning Friendly Relations. Blocked. Protects state stability against entities lacking clear legal administrative governance.
What else do you want the world to tell us? And how do you think Biafra will become a nation? Well, the world, what's how to Biafra become a nation is in the document. They just hide all this UN charter and all these documents out from us. Why can't we just make a change and say, okay, fine, you people should go and take the Biafra. You people should bring Biafra. You people should do, what are you doing? Now that it's well obvious, I want to understand that when you see anybody claiming an APOB organization, do not mind them. Because everything that we are doing at this time really matters to us so much. So when you look at all these articles that back up a government in exile, how many do you, I want to ask you some, please, I want an answer. How you had all the law that back up a government in exile that issue a peaceful declaration, and you had about the one that did not show anything. Can't you say they're not the same thing? Until you met the standard criteria of international community, that is when they listen to you. Without you maintaining that criteria or reaching up to that criteria, the world is not listening to you at all. They will allow you to go in ignorance and also proving that to you that your idiocy will lead you in prison. And when I will say you, that I know it's no longer a problem. So for me and you that is watching this program, if you are still staggering around, remember that it's a high time that all Biafrans, those who really want Biafra as a nation, channel their strength to use redeclared. And I am very happy that every Biafran is channeling their strength towards USB. Go and take your ID card. Go and have your ID card. Prove that you are a citizen of United States of Biafra. It is very, very important. Because of what? When we let the world know, like now we are making a position under their laws and ask them that we have met this criteria, we have gone this one, we have gone this time. So we will know that we are all believing US declared is ready, not going by the side. Say what? Not going by the side. For how many years do you want the world to witness protests? And we had it here that protests are not supposed to pass 3 years or 4 years maximum. That is time of protest. So, well, now that our own under IPOB has passed, And they say that one thing that is constant in life is changing. So when it comes to this movement, IPOB cannot change. Hmm? When it's come to this movement that we're into, I'm going to play this audio again. If no one entered the studio, then we're going to draw the curtain.
A movement that attempts to restore a lost state without establishing a government in exile, GIE, and without issuing a peaceful redeclaration of independence commits critical legal errors. Under international law, an entity must establish legal continuity and demonstrate a capacity for governance. Omitting these steps leaves the movement without a valid legal claim. 3 legal blunders killing the movement: failure to establish legal statehood, fill down pointing triangle, fill down pointing triangle, fill down pointing triangle. Blunder number 1, blunder number 2, blunder number 3.
You know the English blunder.
No legal standing, no claim to remedial abandonment of
IPOB,
peaceful.
no legal standing. Forget all this noise. That is why we must adhere to the legal standing. And that legal standing is US declared. You see what happened in that day. What else do you think that we should do? And it's not for champion this cause and they fully support the movement. When we look at everything that is happening, we sincerely understand that, oh, people has been so naive. If you are still doubting what USB is doing, and if you don't believe on it, you are on your own. Because we must believe that the only way to achieve Biafra as a country has been done, has been happened. So, for everything that is happening, there is things that need to be done. And when you refuse to do those things, they will come out to hurt you. Let us, under USB, move our country forward. We don't have to wait for anyone to move it for us. When you look at what is coming out from this research, and you see the things that the world has done in the past. So, I have no sympathy for anybody. And for us to achieve Biafra as a country, there will be no sympathy. And they never grant recognition because of sympathy or emotion. No, they will tell you to go back and prepare yourself the way you were before. Is it that word, more than the way you were before? More than the way we are before from us and the Kano. And what is that? We have been IPOB. He was one who said the time we come for government in exile. And it has happened. What else, if I may ask you, do you think that there is another way to achieve Biafra? Please. This is a high time that we made it open to our people to understand that whatever that is happening around you must report to you as declared as the legal means. Because this legal means has given us the legal right to talk to our government. So let no one deceive you anymore. Stand on this mandate. Stand on this legal path. You will see that the whole world is with us. And the revolution is knocking on our own door. Very soon it's going to open. So we must forget all this organization. And we are no longer there. The forgetting about them is not just forget like that. But when you see them on comment section, they are writing their garbage, you already know all of them. Let we all that believe in USB remember that USB need our help. Seriously. But if you know what you can do, do it. That is where we are.
Montevideo Convention. Secession, UN Charter. Settlement, UN Charter. Blunder number 1. Refusing
Do you
to
hear
form a
that
government.
they settle before Erodaten? And he never was being recorded. So let we all, as people of Biafra in this 21st century, let we all stand on the side of legal. I don't know what else you want to hear. Before you know that this is a right track by issue official redeclaration of our lost country. Through what? Through the government in exile, not through any other way. And this government in exile is not because of the pressure. So, anything that is happening today, anything that is not USB is not working at all. Let us join hands together to believe in all these laws and all these UN charters that has proven us that this is the one way. This is the soft way. You remember when I had that program that a government in Israel that issued a peaceful redeclaration is a one-way ticket of going home. How do you feel about that? Please, I urge you to like and share the program. Follow us both on TikTok. Anywhere you can follow, please. We want you to follow us. Let us really believe that everything is going to went well. And how? Are you still supporting usually declared? If you are supporting, what are you doing? So, every Biafra that exists in this world must understand that USB has met every criteria. And we met this criteria through what? Through a peaceful redeclaration of our lost country. There is no other way. When there is no other way, that is the only way you have for the truth to come outside. And we all know that truth comes out at last. I said what? Truth always come out at last. Whether I like it or not. This legal part we are into, we are not going to come back from it. So, let every one of us, those that have never embraced USB, embraced by themselves. It's a high time that you ask yourself, I have been here for 14 years without achieving anything. If you look at the level of the pressure and all these people, it is a high time that we follow the suit, how every other countries achieve their own. This our movement of being ignorance under the law has become enough is enough. When you read history, you get it right. So, watch out thing that is coming out this you watched and think that you have a nation right now, which is what? The United States of Biafra as the only hope, how we all have achieved our own nation. Why do you think that the only thing that you can do is to bring protests? Is can introduce protests to the people. And whether this protest is not the way to achieve this new nation. Listen, I want you to know that everything is centralized on government in exile. Everything
relying on
is
informal leadership
centralized
or
on
protest
government in
committees
exile.
instead of a formal legal organ like a government in exile, GIE. The legal consequence: without an organized governing structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity, persona standi, with which to interact. Protesters and activist movements cannot sign treaties, accredit ambassadors, or hold sovereign assets.
Now, do you get this area that organization cannot sign treaty? When it's come to treaty, you must provide a government. Eh? That is why we are telling you that the 14 wasted years is enough. It is a high time that any one that is under US be declared have seen that whatever we are doing through the legal means of usually declared through government in exile is on the right way. Every other thing that we are seeing today, they do not know their left from their right when it's come to the law that controls having a lost country.
Treaty provision. Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, 1933. Article 1. The state, as a person of international law, should possess the following qualifications: A. A permanent population, B. A defined territory, C. Government, and D. Capacity to enter into relations with the other states. A movement without a government in exile fails criteria C and D. It cannot demonstrate an administrative body capable of external state relations. Blunder number 2. Failing to issue a peaceful re-declaration ignores territorial integrity. The error: demanding independence through public agitation without drafting a formal, peaceful legal instrument that outlines historical and constitutional continuity, de jure restoration. The legal consequence: international law prioritizes the territorial integrity of existing recognized states. Unilateral
on
agitation.
this area, they are bringing the issue of territorial integrity. When you on protest, now this law protects Nigeria. When you're an organization like IPOB, this law is why nobody will come to rescue Biafran people. When you are on this law, nobody will come to rescue the Biafran people because of what? Because of we remain under organization. And now they will use the law to judge us. The law prohibits any other one to talk because of, if you want to understand this clearly, check from 2026, the way the world was talking about Biafra, and check the way the world was been talking about Biafra before. You will see that constant talking about Biafra started immediately after our peaceful declaration, which is the legal part, how to achieve Biafra as a country. I said, which is the legal part, how to achieve what? Biafra as a country. That is why when I told you that all these things has criteria, all these things has law. And on the law that guides everything that we are doing, the law that guides the international community, that is the template. When you work with the template of international law, then you will understand that you are on the legal part. But when we are doing it on our own, how we think, how we feel, or that is in our mindset, that is when you got it wrong. You are not, that is why I said, you can eat your orange, have it back. So there is those that are looking at us. Do they meet this criteria of this law? If it is one, they will mark it good. Until they said you have met all criteria. And for us to meet all the criteria, it depends on the template of moving away from protest, agitation, organization to become a full structure government structure by a government in exile that is going to issue a peaceful declaration of a lost nation. Why did you think that, oh, remain under protest that the world will give us Biafra? It's not going to happen until their kingdom come. But through government in exile, Biafra is here because they have already declared it. We are only waiting for recognition, like when America waited after their declaration in 1776. They waited for a year and 6 months before Morocco in Africa grant recognition. And we're asking them today, why are you keeping silent? You are about the Christian genocide and about the killing that is going on today in Enugu State by Peter Mba and all his men. So when you look at all this that surrenders it, and the world already give us the core principle, the template, instead of us to adopt it, you want us to leave this and start dancing around the street that we have danced for 14 good years. You don't know about that because not 20 years. You don't even know when this organization. You don't even know when they start working. You don't know the criteria that uplift you up. My people, let us think otherwise. Because it's only through this government is only the way. There's no other way around. As you undermine the truth will undermine you too. So, for me, I have really seen everything that's proving to me that is only this US declared is only way out. And the only way Nigeria will run away from our territory. Let only one country first. If you see how Nigeria will run out of our land, like how South Africa run out of the land of Namibia, despite the heavy arm surrendered everywhere when the time comes. And there we see. So I urge you to do what? To support this government and understand it clearly that you, as a person in diaspora, need to take your ID card quickly. When you see that the world has changed and they have transitioned, they have moved, when are you going to move? When are you going to transition? That is why when you transition with the government, your brain will transition, you will start asking questions. So, please, let us obey the law. Let us work towards the law. Let us work where insurance covered us up with our life. So, the time we are into is a time to follow only one United State of Biafra that was redeclared on November 29, 2024.
Without a structured, peaceful redeclaration fails to meet the strict legal standard required for self-determination.
Those who fail to issue a declaration did not meet the standard criteria. Are you hearing it? You see why when we said, oh, they will think that we are abusing them? No, but that is the reality. That IPOB is just a mere political pressure group. Let's continue.
Nation. Applicable Charter and Judicial Precedents. Charter of the United Nations, 1945, Article 1, Paragraph 2. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Supreme Court of Canada, reference Re-secession of Quebec, 1998. Under customary international law, the right to external self-determination, secession, restoration, applies strictly under exceptional circumstances, e.g., formal decolonization, foreign military occupation, or complete denial of internal political rights. It operates within a framework that protects the territorial integrity of states, unless a clear, formal legal case for external self-determination is presented. Blunder number 3. Relying solely on agitation violates the duty of peaceful settlement. The error, relying on street agitation rather than engaging in formal legal, constitutional, and diplomatic processes. The legal consequence. Under international law, parties claiming a dispute must use established peaceful mechanisms to resolve claims. Agitation alone allows the occupying power to legally categorize the movement as a domestic civil disturbance, rather than a legitimate state-building body.
Are you hearing it? That is when we are calling on you and trying to dish out this information to you to understand that whatever that you're doing under the name of organization of IPOBs on is an internal matter of one Nigeria government. That is what an internal matter of Nigeria government.
Charter provision. Charter of the United Nations, 1945. Article 33, Paragraph 1. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice. Summary of relevant international charters and conventions. Articles /
See, the law must have a due process. And for us to achieve Biafra, must undergo the process also. There is no by court past achieve a nation that was lost. You have to undergo every process. That is why when you see those that understand this, they did it in their own time. That is why Namibia understand that going for protest is to danger the life of their people. What happened? They banish protest and transition and condemn it. So I don't know why you refuse to agree to work with law. But in a country where you are, everywhere is what? Law. You obey law. You change no clothes. And many things that has happened into this movement that we are into is the most important thing. All this that happens is to prove to you that those that never want Biafra say nation. But when you look at for those who want it, they are those who went to Finland and stand on the mandate of a peaceful redeclaration. Whenever it is peaceful, it is peaceful. The world never leave any peaceful dictionary and leave them for them to suffer. Once you issue and maintain it. So now we have issued it and we have maintained it. That is why nobody will stop us. Its status can only be delayed, it cannot be denied. I didn't see it even delaying. Because of what? We are on the right track. We are on the legal part of it. True? We are what? The people of United States of Biafra that want a nation, not under protest. I don't want people to be arrested in mass number anymore. That is why it's very important that we all understand it clearly. That is why when you look at what we are passing through today, you will see that the world has started talking about our nation because of what? Because of US being declared. Because this is the only legal part.
Treaty, core requirement, impact on a movement without a GIE or redeclaration, Montevideo Convention.
There is no impact to sign treaty or law without Montevideo Convention. And this Montevideo Convention or Geneva Convention or article of all these things are those criteria that the world was looking from us. And today we have had it. That criteria has been met. Those who disarm themselves are the enemies who think that, oh, that they should be doing this. And by doing it, they think that they're relevant. They are irrelevant to it because of their own personal interests. And that is the people that the message did not choose. Rather, they are the messenger who choose the message through social media. That is why I'm calling on every well-meaning Biafrans to support our government of usually declared as only nation we have.
Art 1. Requires a government and the capacity to conduct foreign relations. Disqualified. Activist groups lack foreign diplomatic capacity. UN Charter. Art 1, Para 2. Establishes the right to self-determination of peoples. Restricted. Must be balanced against territorial integrity via formal legal claims. UN Charter. Art 33, Para 1. Mandates peaceful legal procedures and diplomatic negotiations.
Do you
Violated.
hear about peaceful procedures? That is the legal words. And diplomatic organizations. If you did not issue a peaceful declaration, there is no peaceful legal way. For you to have that peaceful legal way, you have to issue a peaceful declaration. You see that the process is in the open. Remember, our Prime Minister once said that the road that achieve Biafra is in the open. Today it's not in the open, really. You know that anywhere in this world that the people of USB is, they must surely do something. So those that went to Belgium and submit documents, we thank all of you. I have made it open for you to understand it clearly. If not for usually declared, we never have a nation. Nobody organize us. But now we have usually declared, that is, we have a government in exile. That is, we have a structured, fully member, how to govern a country. It's not by hearsay. Like I always use that word, that's what I think. So I am going to play it more once again. After that, we are winding down because of my time. What I have to do, I have to leave.
Street agitation alone fails to utilize formal legal/diplomatic mechanisms. UN General Assembly Res.
What? Protest organization can never lead them. Protest organization, no. The statehood award is not for them. It's only for those who have their government. That those who have the statehood. That is why you have their nation to waiting to get it back. We are calling on the entire world to organize USB to end the killing of the Christians that was going on.
2625, 1970. Declaration on Principles of International Law Concerning Friendly Relations. Blocked. Protects state stability against entities lacking clear legal administrative governance.
When when there is no government in exile, no issue a peaceful declaration, nothing is happening until that. So I want you to understand sincerely that this government is the only way out, as you can hear. Listen as I play this last one finally. After this, we are winding down seriously because of my time here, what I have to do also.
A movement that attempts to restore a lost state without establishing a government in exile, GIE, and without issuing a peaceful redeclaration of independence commits critical legal errors. Under international law, an entity must establish legal continuity and demonstrate a capacity for governance. Omitting these steps leaves the movement without a valid legal claim. 3 legal blunders killing the movement: failure to establish legal statehood, fill down pointing triangle, fill down pointing triangle, fill down pointing triangle. Blunder number 1, blunder number 2, blunder number 3. No legal standing, no claim to remedial abandonment of peaceful Montevideo Convention. Secession, UN Charter. Settlement, UN Charter. Blunder number 1. Refusing to form a government in exile violates the capacity to act.
This is a
The
blunder.
error.
When you refuse to do what? Form government in exile and issue a peaceful redeclaration or declaration of your lost country or the new one, it is a blunder. It is a legal blunder, killing the movement. Is this IPOB organization? They have killed the Biafran name. If not that, we have already declared on November. That is only how we can. So I want you to sincerely understand everything that happened. That is only USV is the best option you have.
Relying on informal leadership or protest committees instead of a formal legal organ like a government in exile, GIE. The legal consequence. Without an organized governing structure, foreign sovereign states and international courts have no official legal entity, persona standi, with which to interact. Protesters and activist movements cannot sign treaties, accredit ambassadors, or hold sovereign assets. Applicable
a protest group cannot sign treaty. They cannot hold ambassadors and things they're supposed to do because of what?
Treaty provision. Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, 1933. Article 1. The state as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications. A. A permanent population. B. A defined territory. C. Government. And D. Capacity to enter into relations with the other states. A movement without a government in exile fails criteria C and D. It cannot demonstrate an administrative body capable of external state relations. Blunder number 2. Failing to issue a peaceful redeclaration ignores territorial integrity. The error. Demanding independence through public agitation without drafting a formal, peaceful legal instrument that outlines historical and constitutional continuity, de jure restoration. The legal consequence. International law prioritizes the territorial integrity of existing recognized states. Unilateral agitation without a structured, peaceful redeclaration fails to meet the strict legal standard required for self-determination. Applicable Charter and Judicial Precedents. Charter of the United Nations, 1945, Article 1, Paragraph 2. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Supreme Court of Canada, reference Resecession of Quebec, 1998. Under customary international law, the right to external self-determination, secession, restoration, applies strictly under exceptional circumstances, e.g., formal decolonization, foreign military occupation, or complete denial of internal political rights. It operates within a framework that protects the territorial integrity of states, unless a clear, formal legal case for external self-determination is presented. Blunder number 3. Relying solely on agitation violates the duty of peaceful settlement. The error. Relying on street agitation rather than engaging in formal legal, constitutional, and diplomatic processes. The legal consequence. Under international law, parties claiming a dispute must use established peaceful mechanisms to resolve claims. Agitation alone allows the occupying power to legally categorize the movement as a domestic civil disturbance, rather than a legitimate state-building body. Applicable Charter provision. Charter of the United Nations, 1945. Article 33, Paragraph 1. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice. Summary of relevant international charters and conventions. Article/treaty. Core requirement. Impact on a movement without a GIE or redeclaration. Montevideo Convention. Art 1. Requires a government and the capacity to conduct foreign relations. Disqualified. Activist groups lack foreign diplomatic capacity. UN Charter. Art 1, Para 2. Establishes the right to self-determination of peoples. Restricted. Must be balanced against territorial integrity via formal legal claims. UN Charter. Art 33, Para 1. Mandates peaceful legal procedures and diplomatic negotiations. Violated. Street agitation alone fails to utilize formal legal/diplomatic mechanisms. UN General Assembly Res. 2625, 1970. Declaration on Principles of International Law Concerning Friendly Relations. Blocked. Protects state stability against entities lacking clear legal, administrative governance.
My people, we're going to leave it because of my time here and what I have to do also. So please, until we come back again tomorrow, then I greet all of you in the comment section of Gifts, and all of you in the comment section, I greet all of you. Thank you for coming across our program today and also be with us. Equem Justice, Official AJ, Pastor Rose, Ozi, Joseph, Ushe. Thank you so much, Ushenna. All of you are here today. So I greet you, David Ebony. Thank you so much. I greet you, Benke. I greet you. Don't forget any of you. Emeka Mbewi, I greet you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all we are doing to make sure that we stand on a legal path. Do not panic. We are going home. So from me, from here, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for being here.